Hello and welcome. Campbell here from Autodidactic. Thanks for joining us and back with another chat with Guy. And we've got a few topics we're thinking about, but we'll just see where it goes, I think. How you going, Guy? Welcome back.
I'm good, Campbell. How are you going?
Good, man. Good. Sitting here in my custom library. Not really. It's good background. Yeah, good. A little bit chilly here, so I've got my jacket on, but nah,
It is
good.
strange seeing you with a jacket on. It's the first time ever I've seen you wearing a jacket.
Yes.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, when winter hits, we wear clothes because we're wimps down here. It hits like 20 degrees, and we're like, oh my God,
I
jackets.
think if you were here right now, you'd probably be wearing a sleeping bag.
Yeah, I know, right? Like that guy from what was it, Cool Runnings, put everything on
Yeah,
the suitcase. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like I said to you earlier, it's 14 degrees here today. The blue sky, sun shining. They've chemtrailed. They've
Yeah.
chemtrailed us to death since Friday
Really?
afternoon.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
yeah, they've been going back. How people can think that this is condensation? There were three at one point crossing over in the
Contrail.
sky, and yeah, and then by Friday afternoon it was starting to spit. Then it rained overnight, and I don't see. I can't get my head around the fact that so many people still can't see the connection here to what's going on. You can predict the weather if you watch the chemtrails.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, we've just had so much rain lately, and it's still the tail end of summer. Like we've still got another month. But yeah, it was 30 degrees yesterday and like 20 degrees today. So it's very strange weather patternings. But I mean, it's been
That's
going on
weird.
for so long. Like we used to have all in Australia, like long summers and short wet winters and defined seasons, right? You don't have seasons anymore.
Mm,
Like,
no, no.
summer one day, spring the next, then winter, then back to
Yeah.
summer. It's crazy.
It's all global warming,
Of
obviously.
course it is, man.
I remember being told years ago that by the time I was my age, that quite a lot of our coastline would be underwater.
Yeah, man. I was told that same in Australia, but they were saying like whole island nations like Fiji and Samoa and all these, the Philippines would be gone. And the funny thing is, at the same time as they were announcing that, many of them were buying waterfront properties.
Mm,
Maybe that was it. We'll say it and we'll devalue the
yeah,
waterfront properties and we'll go in and buy
yeah.
them up. But yeah, no, I mean, the good one is that picture of the Statue of Liberty. Have you seen that? There's one from like 1880 or something, and they've got a modern one. They put them next to each other, and the water level's exactly the same. It's,
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that. I don't know why, but when you said Statue of Liberty, I instantly flashed to Planet of the Apes and seeing it on a beach somewhere and
yeah,
just the
or
head sticking
crashed
out of the
over.
sand. Yeah.
Well, we might see that because one French politician has asked for the Statue of Liberty back.
How does that work? How can you do that now?
Well, apart from the fact that I don't think the French actually gave it to them, I think that might be a bit of a concocted story.
Hmm.
I think it was already there. And the
Agreed.
story is that they built it out of what is it, bra copper, probably, and they
Yeah, it wasn't.
dragged
Yeah.
it behind a boat across the ocean.
Now, wasn't that covered in gold at one? Did they? No, no, it was copper, wasn't it? No, sorry, of course it's copperized. Was there some part of that was covered in gold?
Probably, but probably before our time. I would think that, the crown and bits, I mean, it might have all been gold
Mm,
plated
mm.
on it. But it's sitting on a star fort, that it
Yes,
sort
it
of
is.
sits on pretty well. And it's just so, like, it's not French. It's like Greco-Romano, right? It's like
Mm,
Tartarian, really, which is what
mm.
Greco-Romano is. It matches all the world's fairs, all their statues and things. It's all the same stuff, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's just a story, that the French. I mean, they might have had one as well because there are those photos of it in pieces where you can
Yeah.
just see the head when they're
Yeah.
supposed to have been making it.
Yeah.
So maybe there were lots of them, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Um,
Did they have one at the World's Fair in Paris, the expo? Did they have one there?
I've got a feeling it was connected somehow, but I can't remember off the top of my head
Just remember
how.
seeing
I don't know
something,
if it
seeing
was.
an image.
I think they might have had, it on display in pieces or something. I can't
Yeah.
remember. But I mean,
Just remember seeing something, but
they're probably everywhere. Like,
mm,
because that, like the Columbian exhibition, like that's one they held in, was it Ohio? Or was it in the US?
yeah, no, the Columbian exhibition is Chicago, isn't it? Or is
Chicago,
it St.
well,
Louis? Or is it
Chicago.
Chicago or St. Louis? I get so muddled up with this.
Yeah, yeah, I've been to the St. Louis one. Well, what's left, but that's where they've got the statue of Athena too, actually,
Yeah,
and it's like this massive statue.
yeah.
But
The paper mache.
yeah, yeah, it's paper mache. Yeah, yeah, I know, right? Well, that's where they've got a Parthenon, which is the exact same
Yes.
size and dimensions as the original Parthenon.
Yeah.
And the story is, oh, well, it was paper mache, so they knocked it over and then they built one exactly the same because everyone wanted it back. And
Yeah.
like it was like 10 meters to the left or something. That's the story. And they built that one properly, and it just looks like an old world building. It's just all these silly stories, I think, that they make up or someone makes up.
Well, that was the whitewashing, wasn't it? They just painted over them all so they looked
Mm,
new.
yeah.
And you see these sort of pictures of scaffolding up and stuff while they're constructing it, but that you can see that they've been photoshopped. And I think they're just painted everything white. They literally whitewashed.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it looked new.
Well, the Colombian, I think it was called the White City, wasn't it?
Yeah, the White City. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think all the work and the year, right, that it took them to build these massive fairs, yeah,
Mm,
that was just cleaning them up, painting them, maybe putting some facades on that were, paper mache, like different, gateways and doorways that we see,
mm.
and, probably built some shops and that. And they would have to have built a lot of toilets, I'm thinking. But yeah, like that was just yeah, it was just a cleanup, right? A new face ad, right? Facade,
Mm.
a new face. Or
Since we
renovate.
did that, well, since we did that chat about the toilets, did Tartarians drink their own urine? Did they go to the toilet? I've been bombarded with people saying, that, but talking about it, and some say no, of course they did, and the toilet's been around for a very long time. They had them back in Roman days, and there's evidence of this. There's evidence of lots of things if you want to create a backstory. Um, and it led to somebody saying something which I'd completely overlooked. You never see any Tartarian kitchens.
No, no kitchens. No. So basically, there's an absence of indoor plumbing,
Mm,
but outside, fountains everywhere. Like they definitely knew how to
hmm.
plumb pressurized plumbing systems, shooting water,
Yeah.
30, 40 foot in the air, and massive, massive water systems.
Mm.
What's that one in France? Oh, the Palace of Versailles.
Yes, the Palace of Versailles. Yeah.
That place is covered in like this massive like plumbing network,
Mm,
and there used to be a wheel. I can't remember what it's called. I've done a video on it, but it used to pump the water because it's up a hill, like and up the hill, and it was this whole big system. Like yeah, I'll have to find what that was called. Something's wheel, but like yeah, they could do all that. They were getting all the water, pumping it up, pressurizing, running all this stuff
mm,
everywhere, having water running down rocks and all these nice gardens and yeah, but they
mm.
couldn't put a kitchen or a toilet in. And
Yeah.
the other thing is when you look at these palaces, they don't really seem to have bedrooms. They just have a lot of big rooms.
That was also something that I kept
Hmm.
hearing after
Yeah,
that
when you look
podcast
at
we
the
did. Yeah.
layouts, they don't look like they're
Not
made
sleeping.
for living in. And I don't,
Yeah.
I've always thought, well, not always, but for a long time that they're machines, right? And were we ever even meant to inhabit them? Or were they more like you go in and have meditation circles and get healed by frequencies or do different
Mm.
things, or but you don't
Study.
live in them,
Mm,
especially palaces, man. Who builds houses that big?
mm.
Especially, most of these palaces were built before there was glass making, apparently. And how do you heat them? Like they got
Yeah.
bloody 50-foot ceilings in these massive rooms. That's yes. But anyway, we were going to talk about what we were going to start on. A bit of Clonaid and the Raelian. You got a bit
Yeah.
of theory going.
Yeah, I have, and it's a bit of an awkward one because not so much now because I'm on the fence with David Icke, but for a very long time I've admired him.
Hmm.
But because I've been researching for this book I've been writing, like, which is about really about the Cabbage Patch Babies and cloning and where did it all come from, I had to look into Clonaid. But what really interested me was Claude Vorilon, who created the Raelian movement, and it's his backstory. And I just kept seeing David Icke's coming out on Wogan. and because Rail was, as mentioned to you earlier on, he was a racing car driver and then became a journalist, sports journalist. And I see David Icke, he was a footballer, then he's a commentator and journalist. And in 1974, he has I don't know if it was a vision, but he said he was contacted by the Elohim. And he said that the beings were the Elohim, and they told him that they had created humanity through advanced genetic engineering. And it was from that encounter that he set this religion up, the Raelian Movement, and he began promoting philosophy based on science, sensuality, and world peace. And he's written quite a few books as well. Um, and yeah, Elohim, the Hebrew word for God or gods, depending on the context it's used in, it is very similar to what we would call the Anunnaki. And I just kept thinking about David Icke. He walks into a bookshop, something draws him to a book. He has some kind of moment or connection, and then he comes out on Wogan saying that he starts talking about reptilians, and he sort of ends up with this very slowly because he started doing talks, didn't he? And no one turns up, and
Yeah.
now his following's massive. And I just thought, isn't that strange that you've got these two sports personalities, celebrities that both have this moment, epiphany, and suddenly start their own kind of following. I just thought, as David Icke read these books, did he know about Rail? And is that what started it? And that actually he wasn't in a bookshop and had this kind of moment. Is it just, has he just copied what he believes to be a winning formula?
Yeah, well, maybe he got the news about his arthritis and he thought, well, my playing days are over and it's boring being a newsreader, so I'll become a conspiracy theorist. I mean, it's interesting because the Raelians, excuse me, like the Elohim story,
Hmm.
that's out there, right? By 74, pretty sure Sitchin had his stuff out,
Yeah.
sort of putting the theory that these Elohim were actually extraterrestrials, not
Yeah.
spiritual sort of beings. So that was already out there, and he could have built off that, right? Like the story was there. Even Eric von Daniken would have been out before then, I believe. So that's interesting. And then, do you remember the series V?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, like that was
Hmm.
1984, I think. I wonder if that's where David got his content, right? He might have got the idea somewhere.
Yeah.
Watched V, right? Because
Yeah.
V is kind of, I mean, it's kind of a mixture of both of them, right? But it's definitely, people coming down and they're actually reptiles, right? Reptilians.
Hmm.
Like that was a good show, man. That they actually made
But
a remake of it too, but I don't think they finished it.
it's funny, just a moment ago, you had an image up of one of them. And I just glanced at it quickly and I saw Trump. He looks just a tiny little bit like Trump. And I mentioned to you earlier on that I had this past life regression kind of thing done. And in it, and it came from nowhere.
Yeah.
In it, she said to me, it's a woman called Elizabeth Hancock. She she said to me, we were just talking about Tartaria and what happened, and can I reach out to anybody that was there when it fell, the mud floods, and so on. And then she just randomly said to me, where does Donald Trump fit into this? And as I looked at him, he peeled off his skin and he looked just like the Terminator.
Like the Terminator, like the robot thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then she said his musk with him. And I said, yeah, he stood next to him and he peeled his off and they both just laughed at me. Now, as I said to you before, I'm not, I'm on the fence with all this stuff. I don't know. I just thought I would give it a go and let her see if she could get anything with me. And I had an open
Mm.
mind, but I'm not someone that has kind of dabbled in this before, and I don't have an opinion either way. But the stuff
Oh,
she got out of me,
and it
but it
was
was what was interesting was she she asked me about the reptilian stuff, and she got me to. She said, "Can you go back to the reset in 1776? Who stood there? Who stood in America? Who's pulling the strings?" And I saw, and the timelines don't add up, but unless these people are immortal or just regenerate, I saw JD Rockefeller, and she said, "Right, see if you can get him to reveal himself." And out comes this reptilian. He peels his skin off.
and he's a reptilian.
Yeah, but and he was scary looking, kind of scary, green, really almost looked like a praying mantis, a huge
Wow.
praying mantis. She said, dissolve him. What have you got? See if you can dissolve him with your mind. And I was kind of like, I don't know what this means, but I'll give it a go. And I'm trying to get him to melt. I've got my eyes closed. And there was this decrepit grey. And the reptilian bit was like a mask of sorts to make him look scary, but underneath it all was this tiny little grey alien that looked decrepit. He was hunched over, wrinkled, and that ultimately was what I saw. And it came from nowhere
Uh,
because
yeah,
I'm not, I don't know anything about. I say I don't know anything about it. I do, but I'm not convinced by any of it. I need to see things really.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of circumstantial evidence, but yeah, like as far as 100% proof for these, reptilians or greys, I mean, who knows? There's all those videos of them glitching out and their eyes changing and stuff, and
Mm,
weird stuff going on, man. And that was your first past life regression, yeah?
yeah,
That's pretty
yeah.
cool.
She wanted to see if I could. She said to me, "What is your? How long have you been into conspiracy theories?" And I said, "Well, probably about 40 years now." And she said, "Why did you pick Tartaria?" And I said, "Because it's the biggest of them all, and it just fascinates me." She said, "Yeah, but surely what's behind the iced walls, or did we land on the moon? And that there are other things that you could have got involved in and stuck into, but you seem overly passionate, almost obsessed
Yeah.
with this. Why?" And I said, I don't know. And she said, can you reach out and see if you can find someone that lived in that time? And bang, within a second, I'm
Wow.
talking to someone. Yeah.
Wow. I'm just trying to think if I've ever done a past life regression. I'm not sure I've done an actual past life one, but I've done some regression work. And yeah, I find it hard to sort of fall into it. I mean, I guess I'm like, I'm not into that really so much. I don't know if it
Mm-hmm.
works. Is this just woo woo? Am I being silly? But some people like they're writing, but to get something in a second, man, that's pretty interesting that it's just gone boom. Was it like you were back there? Or were they just
No, I thought it was. To start with, I thought it was me, and it wasn't me. It was. She said, "What can you see?" And I could see some girls, young girls, maybe 5, 6 years old, something like that, playing in a meadow. And she said, "Where are you?" And I said, "Scandinavia. This is Scandinavia." And they're playing in a meadow. And she said, "Can you see you?" And I looked and I could, but it wasn't me. It was a big. He was 7, 8 feet tall. He was a dairy farmer. He had red hair, red bushy beard. His wife looked like Dawn French, quite a big woman, and looked very similar to her. Log cabin, dairy farmer. And she said, "Are you all happy? Yeah. Do they go to school? No, we read." Is there anybody near you? No, because it's, we've got cows and stuff that we're quite remote. Um, what happens next? And all of a sudden, I saw these red meteorites or direct energy weapons. I don't know what they were, but the whole sky and ground's pummeled, absolutely obliterated. And she said, "Where is everybody now?" And I just said, "They're all dead. They're dead. Everyone's dead. What are you doing?" And I was marching, and I had this big stick, and I'm marching through it all, and everything's burning and smoldering, and I'm just marching. She said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going for help." And she said, "Where are you going to get this help from?" I just said, "Agatha."
Agatha.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, yeah. She said, "How long is
Um,
it going to take you to get there?" I said, "I don't know." She said, "Do you know of two places that you could access Agatha from?" I said, "Yeah, a rock face that's red with some evidence of there being people living in there in Turkey, and Stonehenge, but it's been filled in."
and Stonehenge.
Yeah, and I've got nothing on Stonehenge. I've been there. I've got nothing on it. No idea what it is.
What's
Kind of
in?
interests me a bit.
But it's they've got
I googled it.
is it starts with A, not Abydos. I want to say Abydos, but that's not it.
I
But
can't remember
it's a
what it's
place with
called.
all these like big columns and stuff,
Uh-huh.
and it's very weird looking.
Well,
Yeah.
if you type in sort of ancient
Hmm.
civilizations or old ancient buildings in Turkey, then sooner or later you'll see what I saw, and it's not the sort of the tall sort of funnel type looking ones. It's actually a lot more red, and you can see what looks like windows and doors. It looks like it's been melted a little bit there, and I said there that is where that's one of the places. And at the time, I hadn't looked at it. I didn't pluck it from the air. It's something I knew, but I'd never looked at it because I'd seen those structures before, but I'd not seen the sort of like red rock face almost with what looked like window apertures in and stuff like that.
This,
That is what I saw, and it's weird because like, no, not that one.
not that one.
No,
That is mouth,
so,
whatever.
yes, scroll down because this is what I kept seeing when I started to look, and I thought, no, that's not it. It's similar.
Not that Cappadocia. That's what it's called, isn't it? Not
It's
that.
that. Yeah,
Oh, isn't it? I think that's Cappadocia. Yeah. Let's see. West ancient ruins in Turkey.
yeah. That's what I was seeing there, like that.
Kind of
A sort
thing.
of reddish kind of. Yeah, that's it. Now,
Tell us what
the
that is.
weird thing is, it's not something that I've looked at. It was kind of like that, and then like that. Yeah, yeah. And she said, "What are those windows for?" I said, they built them some time ago. They've been watching. They've been waiting, and then they just shut them all off, go in and wait for it all to blow over, literally.
Interesting. It says
Yeah,
it's
and it's
on the hill. I thought it was called Cappadocia. Must be wrong. They're calling it Kayakoi.
yeah.
Unless they haven't really marked the picture, but
No,
yeah,
it doesn't help, does it? But that's kind of what I saw, and it's not something I've looked at. Yeah, I've seen these images and stuff, but I'd never looked into it. Said, "Oh, look, that's in Turkey. Must go there one day." It was nothing like that because what I'd seen before is kind of more the images you're
yeah,
yeah,
Cappadocia. Yeah, it is Cappadocia.
odd, isn't
Yeah,
it? So I was like, where did
Turkey's
that come
a
from?
fascinating place. Interesting stuff. Yeah, there's that place.
Mm,
There's lots of the yeah. I mean, it looks like if there was going to be an entrance, could be around here, right?
yeah,
They've got temples in there.
I
Yeah, that
know.
kind of thing.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
started looking and looking, and I thought, well, that's what I
Evolution.
saw. How did I see that? Um,
So that's the entrance to Agartha.
that's what I got. And he got in there, and yeah, she said that. I said there's lots of people there. She said, why didn't they come and help? And I said, because last time they did, they lost too many of their own people, and they can't save everyone. Um, and she said, who was behind it? Who did this? I said it was the Greys, but you know them as people like Rockefeller, Rothschild. It was the Greys that did that. And I said everybody else is just a puppet. It was them. And she said, is there anything beyond the ice wall? And I said, yeah, there is, but you get through it underwater. There is no going through it or over it.
That's
It's
what I
under.
reckon. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And it's probably always been open, right?
Mm,
Like, because it's submarines, man. Like the Chancellor was very big into his submarines, and he was down around
mm,
Antarctica, and they have all these island bases. They got Rockefeller Island, no,
yeah,
Rothschild Island, I think, at both ends, and
yeah.
um,
A lot of the elite families own islands there
yeah, yeah.
in
And then we've
Antarctica.
got the whole
Yeah.
USO thing, right? The Admiral Byrd
Mm.
fight in, was that fishbowl? I think, no, high jump, I think it was high jump.
Operation High Jump. Yeah.
And then we have all these sightings of UFOs coming out of the water.
Yeah. That's more and more now, isn't it? More and more people are leaning towards it
Yeah.
being water rather
And we
than
don't know
space.
what's down there, right? They tell us it's 70% of the surface of the world. And then it's got the height thing as well, right? Which makes it a massive, massive area. And we don't know what's there. Like we've mapped something like 5% of the ocean.
Yeah. I don't know if I believe that. I think we know exactly what's down there
I'm
and
sure we
exactly
do.
why. Yeah. And certain areas we can't go to. And then, of course, you've got places like the Bermuda Triangle, haven't you?
Yeah.
Is that, you know,
And there's a triangle in China, I think, which is the same kind of as the Bermuda.
yeah.
And yeah, yeah, no, I'd agree. Did you see that thing on mermaids that's popped up suddenly?
No?
Talking water. This all these these stories popped up, but it's going viral on like TikTok and stuff about that the elites have these parties and they basically have these fishermen that they pay to go and catch mermaids and then they eat the mermaid because apparently it's supposed to
Oh,
have something in it that extends life. Like there's some Japanese, I think, legends written down about it, but I mean, who knows how true it is? But there's a lot of videos around about these parties. That, yeah, and it's supposed to be like the
really?
ultimate kind of delicacy, for the elites. But probably,
That's a weird
like,
one. I've not heard that because, of course, you got the sirens.
the
I always thought the sirens became the mermaids. They're actually quite a nasty, aggressive kind of
that's the thing. I think that's
creature.
where the mermaid, yeah, tales came from. Well, at least it's the same thing. I think the sirens and the mermaids, but
Mm,
we're given Disney mermaids, right? The Little Mermaid,
yeah.
all these nice, but
Mm,
I mean, it's like angels, right? We're told that angels are these nice, fluffy, people of light, but when you read the actual descriptions about them and some of the
yeah.
stuff going on, they're not because clearly, the fallen angels, right, are angels. Like they're
Yeah.
the same beings that just turn to the dark side, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Anakin Skywalkers of the angel world.
I've said this before to people, then they've said, "Oh, I need an angel to come and guide me." And when I've heard people talking about angels, because I didn't think they used to have wings, and we've just depicted them with wings, and more recent times, relatively speaking. And I've said to a few people, if you saw an angel as they were originally described, you'd shit yourself. You
Yes.
would be scared to death. This is not a beautiful looking creature. This is actually quite scary.
And then they're also almost described as machine-like, right? A lot of the time that they're described as almost metallic. But a lot of
Mm,
the most common thing is the shining ones.
the
What if
shining ones, yeah.
it's because they're machines, right?
Yeah, metallic.
It's
Yeah.
an interesting one, but I mean, we don't know really. Like the story we've been given, and all through the religions, right, is that these we even use the word right, angelic beings, like
Mm,
beings of light. But yeah, this is. what they look like. This is these are biblically accurate angels, but there's also different types, right?
Yeah.
The pictures aren't too big, but when you look into them, it sounds like a military. Like we were talking about it before the show. Like it sounds like they're some kind of military ranks, right?
Yeah.
You have the seraphim. I mean, the Nephilim aren't them, but there's all these different ranks. But then again, like look
Yeah.
at
There we are.
an
Yeah.
eyeball with wings. I mean, it sounds a lot like the eye in the sky, the all-seeing eye, and I guess
Mm,
that's the watchers, right? That's because they're watching
yeah. The Watchers. Yeah.
the watchers. I mean, and having that many eyes, it's starting to sound a bit like technology, right? Like a ball that's covered
Yeah.
in cameras or something. I mean, who knows? But it's an interesting one because I was saying like what are they called? The Nephilim, the Sumerian gods. Depictions we get, a lot of them have wings,
Mm.
which is interesting, and so do angels, right? So
Yeah, and they try and brush that off, don't they? As saying, well, they couldn't describe that these people could fly or these beings could fly, so they've put wings on them. And I think,
yeah,
well, if you can accurately draw, I mean, in incredible detail, a person, you wouldn't then clump on some wings to it in incredible detail because you couldn't say that they were flying. You
draw,
just
show them
draw
flying,
what it was
what
they
they
were
were
flying in.
flying. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it just doesn't make any sense, does it?
it doesn't. It's crazy, but yeah, they all got wings, and then they have the heads, right? Like the different like eagle heads and human heads,
Yeah,
weird sort of stuff, which the angels have as well. Some angels, there's so many different ranks of them, but some are the head of the eagle and the bear and the
yeah.
lion, which a lot of people
I
think,
mentioned to you before, before we came on, that I've heard a few people say that they were helmets.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they could be. I mean, what's armor, right? Like I should
Mm,
do another show, like showing that because armor's so interesting. We get told, they're putting it on for battle and then jumping on horses, right? Which one thing these things would, weigh a ton, right? But the precision they're made at,
mm,
like, is ridiculous. And then the masks that, like the helmets, most of them you can't see out of,
mm.
right? And you've definitely got no peripheral vision. They don't look like they're made for war, right? Or not
No,
war
they'd restrict you
when
massively,
shown.
wouldn't they?
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Martin thinks that they're like Faraday suits,
Does
maybe.
he?
Yeah, yeah. So there was for to shield them from electricity, and they were using because have you seen the pictures of swords and they're like lightsabers? They're shooting out like
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. So thinks that they were using energy weapons basically, and they were wearing the suits to deflect, what was coming at them, which is interesting because I mean, for that you would cover your face up and maybe give away
mm.
a bit of your sight. I'm sure they're not for what we're told they were.
The
Some of
the
them,
restriction would be.
yeah,
I don't
well,
know. This is kind of like a daft one, but going for a piss.
yeah, exactly, and
Things like that, simple things like that.
simple things, and we're told that their battles used to go for days, right? Like, yeah,
Mm.
where you going to the toilet? Like, it's not,
If
yeah,
they did, I suppose is the answer to that one. But yeah, no, I agree. And Richard Vobes, I don't know if you ever watch Richard Vobes, he's a big podcaster over here. He had somebody on that was looking into armor, and it was last year at some point, and he said that it wasn't silver, that these were incredible colors. These were treated with different processes, different chemical processes through heat and other things, and that actually they were all sort of bright colors like blues and purples. They were sort of magnificent, and they dulled. So as they got older and weren't treated, that they dulled and became silver, and that they were incredible colors. And he did an hour of explaining how it worked, and I don't know if he made them or something, but he knew a lot. It was worth looking at.
you're right. So, like, is that sort of like an anodized color? I
Yeah,
guess. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, well, that's interesting. If that's true, then again, because I was going to mention like all the artwork on them.
Mm.
Like, why would you put all this work and art and everything into it just to go in a battle and have people smash it and smash it up with swords,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
maybe the king, you can imagine if that was how it all happened, would have something on him,
Mm.
but most people, yeah, it just wouldn't. It just doesn't make sense. And then like these massive swords they had, because Ned
Mm.
Kelly, like that's how he got done in. Everyone probably knows the story of Ned Kelly. He made his own suit of armor, had that big helmet on, and just a vest basically, with a few bits hanging off around his sort of legs. And he fell over and couldn't get back up again.
Mm.
And that's how they got him. So
Yeah,
what happens? You're going to fall over in a battle, right? Lots of people be falling over. What's happening?
yeah, yeah, falling off horses, and
Yeah,
that's if you could get on a horse wearing that.
if you could get on a horse.
Mm.
Exactly right.
And then to be able to swing a sword or do anything with it wearing all that, I just can't believe it.
Yeah, I
Not
know.
for a long period of time, anyway.
No, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. That whole, like most things, they don't make much sense, do they?
And it would have to be pretty much. It would have to be tailor made for each
Well,
person.
that as well. Like, so they're obsolete, right? Once that
Mm.
person's not using it anymore, and
Mm.
so they just yeah, and it's a lot of work, right? With the all by hand, beating metals
Yeah,
out and stuff and shaping it and forming it and all the stuff. And then there was even armor for horses. So I mean, imagine that,
yeah,
a horse with armor on, then a dude with armor on his back.
yeah,
I mean, that's a lot of weight, right?
yeah, yeah. It is. And you
Right.
think, how long would it take? That would be an interesting Google, wouldn't it? How long does it take to make for one person? I mean, I know there'd be groups of people, but how long does one suit of armor take to make? And then and then you could work out how long does it take to kit out your entire army? How
Yeah,
much metal do you need? How long does it take? How many people would it take? If you knew that a year from now there was a war coming and you've got 1,000 soldiers that you want to, or knights or whatever that you want to armor up, how long would it take? Where do you find all these people from that can do this? I
yeah,
mean, this isn't your typical blacksmith.
exactly right. Making a suit of armor, especially a historically accurate one, can take several months, potentially even a year or more, depending on the complexity. So, and then the next one says 6 to 9 months. So probably, yeah, 9 to 12 months
Mm,
for one. That's for one suit. So you've
yeah, so we got to say
got an
a
army
couple
of
of
1,000 people. You need 1,000 armor makers all just working on one suit each,
yeah,
which,
and a year's notice that you're going to need them.
well, see, this is my argument with forts. Like, I think forts are a stupid idea, and especially the ones in the ocean. But like what happens? Like, do they like, oh, well, let's have a war? Okay, well, we're just going to get our forts ready because we're told
Mm,
that all these forts are built for wars, right?
yeah,
Like,
defensive
we can't just go
purposes.
off and go, hang
Mm,
on, we'll be back in 5 years. Go and build your
yeah,
fort. Okay, we're all ready. Now let's fight.
yeah,
Like, that doesn't make sense. But finding old structures and turning them into a fort for a war, well, that's completely feasible in my
yeah,
opinion.
yeah.
So it's
I
all very
agree.
strange. Did you
That's
see
the Starfort thing, isn't it?
it's a star
The
fort?
backstory that they're defensive fortresses. They're not. They're not.
No.
You do not build something that just coincidentally resonates at 528 hertz and aligns to all the well, a specific constellation, and you don't do that if it's just defensive. And,
No.
and why make that? Some of the shapes are incredible. The
Good.
symmetry.
So just to get the shape, they'd be doing at least twice, probably more, of the materials they needed and the work to be done,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Than just building a square or a circle or whatever. I mean, they say that all the angles are, to deflect cannonballs, and so that if you stand out on the point, you've got a, you can see everywhere kind of thing, which is just kind of silly. But then none of them have ever been used in wars. Like, I don't think I've
mm.
found any that have been used in. A lot of them we're told were in the Civil War and all this kind, but they've
Yeah.
never been in action.
No.
So it's
No, they're all intact, aren't they?
well,
Yeah,
exactly
and
because
some of them are. I think there was one. I think it might be in Holland. That it's got these sort of offshoots from it as well, and it's just incredible. And I put a post up a while back on Facebook, and it was showing. I might have mentioned it before. It showed an ice molecule, a frozen watered ice
Yeah, yeah,
molecule
yeah, yeah.
when it
Like
was subjected to
Tartarian motor.
528 hertz. So
Yeah,
if you put water molecule 528 hertz, and I started to see star force. And the other, so my theory is that they would have had to have known that when they built them. That can't be a coincidence. And also to get that sort of perfect symmetry, surely you would have to be able to see what's happening from above.
yes. Well, this is why I don't think, we knew that these star forts were everywhere until we started getting satellite images, right? And images
Mm,
above.
look
But
at that.
the thing and then this is the one, I can't remember the name, but this one's in the Netherlands,
Yeah.
the biggest picture with the offshoot. So
And that one you're on now is America, isn't it? The one that looks almost like AI.
this one,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, that's America, isn't it? That
it's America.
just looks perfect.
There's some really good ones out there,
Yeah,
but
that one there, for example. I mean, how does that look like a defensive fort?
it's dumb, right?
It's not. It's not, is it?
Right. It's a cymatic shape that
Yeah.
water's running around, with its current, and I think it's being structured right with a certain frequency. And
Mm,
I'm pretty
mm,
sure that they're built in specific places, right? Just like cathedrals, they're built on energy vortexes or ley line
mm.
nodes,
Ley
and
lines. Yeah.
they represent geometrically the frequency that's coming out of that place.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like you said, if you put in, Dr. Emoto, we get all these, right? All the
Yeah.
stars. Let's move us down
Yes.
here.
So
All these
now,
shapes.
yeah, star forts.
And then we've got cymatics, which is frequency played through different mediums like water, sand, and we get all these. These are actually, I think this is the music scale. We get shapes like this, and the higher the frequency goes, the more complex they get.
Yeah.
And then there's this thing called an oscilloscope.
Yeah.
And the same thing, you play frequencies through that. Basically, if you put the right frequency through this, it's all the same thing, right? So that's the thing. It looks like it's all frequency, right? It's all
Yeah.
we've got the
Yeah.
same sort of fractal images through all these different mediums and ways of looking at energy, and it's crazy. So yeah, I agree. I think that was something to do with the Earth grid, basically. I know this is 432. This is 440. So there you go. Most
Yeah.
people
440, not so nice, is it?
have
Looks
the
sort of
old frequency
fractured
thing.
and
Yeah. So
distorted.
we're supposed to be like 9, which is completion, and
Yeah.
8 is the loop, right? 8 is the
Mm.
infinity sign standing up, right? So it looks like they've put us in a some kind of a loop. But yeah, man, there's so many, and these are the rose windows that we see
Absolutely.
in
Yeah.
cathedrals, right?
Yeah.
Another link. So there's all this stuff.
So how did they know that's this is my argument when they built those cathedrals, if we follow the narrative behind them, how did they know what frequency did to water or sand?
Well, they
Where did that technology come from?
they had technology, right? This is the thing, and I think they were just, that they weren't controlled by parasites, so
Mm.
that they would have understood that everything was energy, and so a lot of
Mm.
their research and science and that would have been into that because we don't even have the ether anymore. Like at science,
Yes, removed. Yeah.
science will say it doesn't exist, and that's why none of their equations work, and they're also retarded. But if you knew the ether existed, then you would start to see, like results of it, right? And then they
Mm.
did a research, and everything became these stars and these geometric
Mm.
shapes, right?
So they had to have the technology and the understanding then. And
Yeah,
we're told these are fairly recent things, aren't we, if we follow the narrative, but they're not. They
no,
understood all of that. They built knowing that. Everything was built knowing that.
Yes, everything like then that sacred geometry was built into it all. That's why these buildings still stand,
Mm,
right? Apart from the fact that they're like got 10-foot thick walls, but they're built to last, and that's the other thing. They were
yeah.
built to last. Like they knew what they were for, and they built them properly.
Mm,
It's not like our society where they build something and it gets ripped down, 20 years
yeah.
later, or they find a nice old building and then tear it down to put a car park there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they repurposed the ones they wanted to keep. They're always governmental use, aren't they? A lot of the old Tartarian buildings, they end up being some of the banks and post offices or insurance that they're all used for them, aren't they? And the ones that they don't want that they didn't demolish, you just see them deteriorate.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing they do, right? They abandon them and leave them. If they
Mm,
say that we're going to knock this down, everyone jumps up and down,
mm.
and they just leave it to rot. And then they say, oh, it's
Now it's
unsafe.
an eyesore.
Yeah, it's unsafe. It has to come down. It's going to hurt someone. It's going to
Mm,
collapse.
mm.
Like
Yeah, it's all
I've been
intentional.
looking at Melbourne, and in Melbourne, there's all these massive old buildings, and they tear them down. This is like within 20 years of Melbourne starting,
Mm,
and they'll tear them down and not build anything there. And then you've got to wonder, well, why was it there in the first place? Who built it? Who was it for?
mm,
And why
mm.
did you build it if you didn't need it? Because if you needed the space, then you're not going to just tear it down and leave nothing, right? You're going to rebuild something.
No. No, exactly. Otherwise,
Um,
you'd leave it. There's no
yeah.
purpose, especially the cost and if it's only been up 20 years. But of course, they had a lot of fires too, didn't they?
Yes, yes, those special fires that burn
Mm,
glass and iron and brick and rock. Yep.
yeah,
Australia's Sydney's World's Fair. I can't remember the year, 1860s maybe. It had the exhibition building, and it was basically a big glass and iron building. And all of this is the story anyway. All of the records of Australia since colonisation were kept in this building, and of course it burnt down, didn't it?
yeah,
And
yeah.
whole history of Australia up to maybe it was 1900, up to like 1900 was gone.
Mm,
Very convenient how that happens.
yeah, it is. It
Like
is.
with
But
Alexander, right? It's just the same story.
yeah, yeah. I put one up the other day on San Marco in Venice, Basilica. It was at the time considered to be the tallest building in the world. There's this tower, and that imploded. That actually imploded. So
Yeah,
19, I think it was 1900 or 1902.
it imploded.
It imploded. Yeah. No, I write to, I'm always writing everything down, but I can't remember where I put this.
And what was it? A
Um,
basilica, did you say? Like a big
yeah,
cathedral?
but it also was the largest library of unusual, rare, and
Oh,
occultic books in the world at that particular time.
yeah.
The tallest building, tallest collection of books, and the whole lot came tumbling down. It imploded, and people have described the implosion. No one was hurt, amazingly. No one was hurt at all. And it happened in a very similar way to the towers in New York a few years back now. Where did I write this stuff? My
Been to
life is
Venice?
just a series of bloody notes and stuff, but that's worth typing in San Marco.
Denmark.
Seeing, yeah, San Marco, and it just literally imploded. There is there should be photographs of it actually happening. People
Oh, so but
caught it.
it's still standing. Oh, so that's St. Mark's.
No, yeah, it was rebuilt. Oh, here we go. So there's a painting by Canaletto in
Oh,
1723 that shows it was the tallest building in the world at the time. Nobody knows how old it is. They guessed between 888 and 1032, and it just imploded. And it imploded 1902 at 9:52 in the morning. The bell tower of St. Mark's unexpectedly collapsed.
oh, so it was the bell tower, or was it the
Yeah,
whole?
so if you go bell tower 1902, you might find.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting? Yeah. So it was the large. It was the Bibliotheca Nationale, the largest library of rare and obscure books in the world at the time, and at the time that it collapsed was around the same time that Tesla had invented the earthquake machine that he stated could destroy a skyscraper. There you go.
Interesting.
And he just did it. It just collapsed. No
So
one knows how or why.
it just collapsed,
Yeah, implode.
and
They say it imploded.
someone got it on camera.
Mm.
Well, that was lucky, especially back in
Tell me about
1902.
it. Yeah, but if you look at the pile of rocks afterwards, so yeah, that one there, you just yeah, look at that.
That's
That looks,
crazy.
looks like
Have you
pulverized stone. It doesn't look like the rubble of something that's collapsed. There are no big chunks anywhere of rock. Not really. It is mainly just a pile of rubble.
it is just, it's a massive pile of rubble.
Yeah.
Like,
So
that's a
there you go.
pile.
And that was the same time that Tesla announced he'd brought out this earthquake machine.
Interesting. I'm just like the fact that there's photos of it falling
I
and
know.
multiple ones.
Yeah.
That's just, that's definitely like, yeah, it's like
Mm,
the towers that were twins, right?
yeah.
Old demolition, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah. That one there you just had a second ago. If you go back, that one, yeah. I mean, if you look there, I mean, that doesn't look like it doesn't look like a building's collapsed, does it? Because you would expect to see really large pieces of it still lying around. I mean, that's tiny little chunks of rock, like pulverized stone.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it looks like something
Mm,
you know, like crushed rock, right? It looks all like little
yeah,
pieces.
yeah. So how do you achieve that? I mean, that's not something just falling down, is it? And to not know how it fell, and to not know how who built it and when. And I just think the timing with that and with Tesla bringing out this earthquake machine,
Very interesting.
yeah, it was the same time.
Crazy. Like,
Mm,
because that is a big pile, man. Because these buildings are massive.
mm.
Have you been there?
No, I haven't. No, a friend of mine's just been there actually, he's just back from there.
They're
He
so
just
big.
kept
I went there
taking.
last year, and
Did you?
this basilica
Mm,
just, and you can see all the antiquity, like the size of the building,
yeah.
like they're supersized. But it's all built on three like logs. Like, have you heard the story of how they built Venice?
No.
It was built on all these logs that over the years turned to stone, apparently.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
it's it's this funny, like, and there's this story of it where they got all the special kind of wood, and it was, but this is um this is literally. Well, there you go. There's, I don't know what that's a picture of.
Hmm.
There's the one I got. Where'd they go? This one. This is what they like. It's literally built on wooden pylons, is what they say. But these buildings in Venice are massive.
Yeah.
Like, and all, even the normal, not huge ones, they're all like 4 or 5 stories tall,
Mm.
all sitting on logs, apparently.
Why would you do that? Why would you pick?
This is it.
If you're going to build a city, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just build it on land?
There's this
There's
big
no.
story about there was a war or something, and there was a few families living on some little islands out there, and I don't know, they got invaded, so everyone moved out there, and then, and it's the same thing. Like, they moved because they were, getting invaded, or there was a war or something, and so they just built this in like what, months? Like, I mean, you'd have to do it pretty.
Wow.
Right? And they brought all the logs from um, like the old Yugoslavia, like the Balkans and stuff, spruce or something. And then over the years, apparently they turned to stone, right? It,
They'd have spent an awful lot of time underwater as well doing that, wouldn't they?
yeah, like Venice was built on a foundation of wooden piles driven into the soft, marshy ground of the Venetian lagoon, effectively creating an underwater forest that supports the city's dwelling. This is literally the story. And I can't remember exactly why they were doing it, but it was something about they had to escape somewhere. But it's a crazy story. But you got to wonder why they were
Mm,
in there. Like I've searched for ages, haven't found it yet, but I want to get some diving. Like surely there's footage of people diving underneath Venice if you can do it.
yeah, yeah.
Like, like show me this stuff, and if that's true, if it's all sitting on logs and the canals are supposed to be the ocean, like there's pictures where they've drained canals. How's that possible?
Mm,
Like for the canal to have a bottom.
mm.
Like it's a I don't know, but yeah, when you see the size of the buildings in like and it's covered, man. Like it's wall to wall bit the whole thing. It's 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 yeah. So there you go. That's the story of Venice. It's an interesting one.
It is. It is. It just doesn't. There's no logic. It defies all logic. And if you propose that to someone, I'm going to build a city. This is how we're going to do it. There's no way anybody would come and join you. It would be a
Oh.
little bit like Noah and his ark. Everybody would think you were barking mad.
And imagine the work involved. I mean, there'd
Mm,
got to be hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of these trees that they have to go and fell in another
yeah,
country. I mean, it's not too
yeah.
far to the Balkans from there, but you know, you got to get them, fell them, bring them back, and then
Well,
drive
it's a
them
quite
into
a
the
way with a horse
sand.
and cart, isn't it?
It is. And how are they driving them into the sand? I mean, they can do it today, but they've got massive pneumatic, pressure
Yeah.
machines that can
Mm,
do that. But how did they drive them into the mud? Just these simple questions. Like,
mm.
it's a silly story. Just like the landing, right? They just rescued all the astronauts.
Oh yeah,
Ace after
yeah,
8 months. The
yeah,
lady's chin is different. And I literally saw this video from the news trying to explain it because her hair was grey and
yeah,
when she landed it was brown again. And they're like, this was like a news report, and they said, oh, well, because she was in space, her hair went grey. And then when she got back to Earth, it just went back to its natural color. Like that was what they said. Like there's some, like we've never seen another astronaut go grey.
no, no. And that what's the explanation with that? Because they're in low Earth orbit anyway, aren't they? They're not in space as we
But
know it. But
yeah,
of course, they're not
well,
been there at all, have they?
well, they weren't there for 8 months because at Christmas time they came out with hats on.
Yeah,
They got interviewed there at one point. So there had to be another dude on there, but then what? They couldn't go and rescue them, but they got a report
mm,
and and then she got a tan, and then
mm,
their muscles aren't atrophied. If they're hanging up in
mm.
no
Yeah,
gravity, right? Not using your muscles. 8 months, they wouldn't be able to crawl, let alone walk.
yeah.
And
And of course, the food supply.
that's the biggest thing. Like, what were they living on?
Yeah,
It's a very silly story, but and then the whole. Have you seen the landing? Like the little capsule. It's like I dream of,
no,
one of those little capsules that falls in the water with parachutes. It looks like AI, and people have put it through those AI. You know, you can get programs, and you put videos in,
yeah.
and tell you if it's AI or not. And it was coming out at like above 60% probable AI.
Oh Christ. Well, did you hear about the Challenger, the space shuttle disaster,
Yes, yes, yes.
where there's seven
All twins,
astronauts?
man. They're all twins.
Are they?
No, well, that's well, they're all
Oh,
still.
because
They must be. They
I
must be identical twins, right? Because they're all still
yes,
alive.
they're all still alive. Yeah, yeah. I saw a picture of one of them lecturing in some university somewhere in America. I thought,
Some
oh,
of them,
come
I think
on.
there's two of them that's got the same job and the same name.
Mm.
It's like, what? But yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they just don't care. They just don't care.
I think that you know, people get their information from the news so much they kind of know if they don't report it, it won't get out there. And then even if it gets out in a certain area, because it's not on the news, everyone else will just think it's a conspiracy theory. And it's
Yeah.
not, right? So I
Mm,
don't think they have to do that much because people don't think most of the people, right? Well,
mm.
hopefully not most of them anymore, but they get told the news and that's the truth.
Yeah.
the truth,
Yeah.
man. You know,
I
Elon,
kind of thought that maybe 2020 was an exercise in seeing
yeah, an
who's
IQ
awake and who isn't.
it was an IQ test. We
But yeah,
actually,
I've seen that a few times going around that's what it was. It was an IQ test. But I wonder if it was a test of sorts to see, okay, who who's going to fall for this and who isn't, and who's going to obey the orders and who isn't. And then I don't know from there, was it to see, okay, we've now got a group of people that we can monitor, or was it we've got a group of people we need to get bloody rid of, or
hmm,
was it that we've got now got a group of people that we know we can share information with, and that it was actually done not as a nefarious.
yeah, well, I mean, that's the third option, and
Uh,
that's the best option, right? Like, who do we feed all this disclosure to, right?
mm,
We can think. Um, but I mean, yeah, if that's the truth, and they obviously didn't care too much about the people that, you know, the
yeah,
systemites.
yeah.
I saw a video today, and it was going through all the celebrity type people that, you know, took Bill's prick and then had later died.
Yeah.
And there were heaps of them. Like there were
Mm,
too many, and there's all these ones I didn't like. Meatloaf, yeah, I think I did hear he died. But there was all these names, and I'm like, really? They died.
mm.
Like Bob Saget from Full House died. He was one.
Taylor Hawkins, Foo Fighters.
Al Hawkins.
Mm,
But there were heaps of these people that I didn't even know. They're quite famous names, and I'd never heard that
mm.
they died. It's like that used to be big news when someone famous died, but they haven't
Yeah.
been talking about it at all, right? And obviously for
Mm,
a reason. Like there's tons of them. So
yeah. And a lot
yeah,
of athletes as well, just dropping down, just dropping, keeling over. Young, fit people just keeling
young,
over.
especially like college footballers and soccer players, and
Mm,
yeah, man, old ones, young ones. George Foreman was one. He was another one,
mm.
and he was out promoting it. Like, so this is still going on. So I mean, are we ever going to find out? Hopefully, but was it a Depop agenda? Was it
Mm.
they looking for a certain people, certain blood types, or certain traces? Because
So it's got to be that, surely, hasn't it?
it would seem so. I mean, it's definitely split. I mean, the other one is, are they looking like, do they know? Obviously, they do, right? They know there's something going on. There's some kind of reset or something going to happen soon. And are they just trying to find the people that are compliant enough that they can still rule them, right? So they can have at least their little slave population, and they know that's all they can get because everyone else will wake up and, you know, not be interested.
Yeah.
Then if they're that controllable, then they just start, right? Like chips in their brains, right? Make them very controllable. Brave new world.
So what happens to us?
Well, this is the question. I think
Mm,
we build the new world, right? I think that we're the ones that can think, and we're the ones that are looking at possibilities, and we're thinking of better things, and how do we fix things, and how do we make the world better for everyone, where the majority of the population are like probably still in fear, right? But they're definitely we're doing whatever we're told we're doing, right?
yeah.
They just get pushed around, and like whatever the government says is going to happen is what's going to happen for them, because
Mm,
they don't think they can change anything. They're completely powerless, I guess, is
mm,
when you get down to it. They don't believe they got power to do anything. And that's kind of like the split, right? That Dolores Cannon talks about. There's going to be this split, you know, two new Earths or something like whatever, however it works. And there's definitely a split in the population now, right?
yeah. Yeah, definitely.
But that all could just be a big psyop too, right? We've got to keep our minds open, I think, and not judge things as the truth or
Mm,
a lie, because that can change day to day in 25 for one thing.
yeah.
Like,
Because you see it, don't you? You see a lot, especially sort of recently, actually. Um, a couple of podcasters saying that this is a lie and this is actually the truth and this is what really happens and blah blah. And I think we just don't know that. You can't make statements like that. You can't do that.
you don't
You
know.
You'd have to have access to some incredibly sensitive information to be able to come out with stuff like this.
Like remember 2020, all these insiders, came out
Mm,
inside information, and it all led to nothing. They all ended up,
mm,
some ended up being exposed as idiots. So yeah, I mean, it's like Trump, right? Like, he came out with a bang, and it's like, oh, it looks like he's going to do good stuff, and then there's all this other stuff like, oh God, that looks a bit dodgy, bloody hell,
yeah.
that's good. And then just yesterday, I heard something, and because they give sort of like, I think they've given like $5 billion to Australian universities in the last four
Mm,
years, and they're 70% of the funding. It comes from America.
mm,
And so he sent them all these quizzes that they have to fill out. And it's stuff like, because it's money for experiments. And he's like, you got to answer these, like, has this got anything to do with you trying to prove the green agenda? I think it's a group of 20. And one of them is like, do you protect women's rights against men in sports? And they've got to answer all these questions. And if he doesn't like the answers, he's just going to pull the funding. And I'm thinking, that's awesome. So he's just flip flopping, right? I don't know. I'm just watching
yeah.
at this point because we just, so hard to tell.
It
Right?
is, isn't it? It's like someone keeps coming up to him and saying, "Hey, Don, did you hear about this?" It's like, and then he completely drops what he's doing, and it's like his attention span is, he's just jumping from one thing to the next.
Well,
But I'm
because he's a
still,
Terminator robot, he's programmed.
yeah. I just don't. I think if he is this amazing person that's here to make all these incredible changes, and the world's going to be better for him ultimately, what's he doing hanging around with Musk?
That's the big one. And really, most of his cabinet, they're all like
Mm,
ex-bankers, they're all J hats,
mm,
they're all in these dodgy, bloody groups. It's and this is the thing, you just don't know. Like on one side, I guess, people and they probably would argue that they're the white hats and it's all part of the plan and they're not really who
mm,
they are and they have to do this so that they don't get caught out and all that. And then the other side is it's a complete scam. He's
yeah,
just lead us down the garden path, and then suddenly, we'll just be giving our rights away and not realizing it, and then we'll end up in 15-minute cities. But we just don't know. But I mean, ultimately, we shouldn't have leaders, and we shouldn't have leaders because we shouldn't have followers. We should have people who can live their own lives and be responsible for them and do the right thing, right? But I also admit that most of the population probably still do need leaders, just not, the kind that we've got, but they're
yeah,
probably not ready to take responsibility, right?
yeah.
So
I
it's
asked this question on to Elizabeth Hancock, who did this past life regression thing with me. I said, "You're always talking about the white hats. Who are the white hats?" She said, "Well, they're the Galactic Federation." I said, "Are they? How do we know that? How do we know who they are? Who are these white hats? Who have they?
oh,
You know,
well, that's interesting because she said that she asked you about the beyond the ice wall.
mm,
So who are the Galactic Federation if there's no galaxy? Or is the galaxy, and I've tried to search this, but it's hard to find the root words of galaxy, but is that the plane, right? All the different rings all together is a galaxy. But this is
yeah,
a thing, like if it's who are these people? Oh,
yeah." And I said, "Give me
these
some
light
names."
years, you know?
Yeah, and she said that there's this one person she speaks to that is in touch with them. They communicate with him when he goes into sort of a deep state.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, okay, okay, yeah, well, I hear this all the time. So give me an example. Give me one person that is in a position of power that's infiltrated and is going to slowly help us. Give me one person. Well, he can't name names. No, no.
Come
Why doesn't that surprise
on.
anybody?
Give me a name. Well,
Yeah, I
this
just want one name.
and it's really it's kind of that's back to trust the plan, right?
Mm,
Which and trust the plan is sit on your ass and watch Netflix and don't do anything because we
mm,
got this covered. Like I mean, it's pretty good. You
bullshit.
know? good message to get out to people who you don't want to stand up and oppose you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
I
that
think
with
the best thing,
things. You just can't see it.
turn Netflix off and start asking more questions. Stop believing everything you're told. Find out for yourself. And I say to people with like the stuff I put out there, don't believe me. Christ, don't whatever you do, don't believe anything I'm saying. This is just what I think. I could be entirely wrong. And so I said this the other day on, I think it was on Martin's channel actually.
Martin, yeah, that's all that.
I said I would rather, and it was actually this particular podcaster that's been quite outspoken recently and caused a bit of a backlash that I was talking about. I would rather be proven to be wrong than to carry on believing a lie.
Oh, totally.
Because then at least I know what's going on, and I don't have to. If someone says to me, "Look, you've got this whole Tartaria thing wrong. It's a psyops by the CIA. It's misdirection. Look what it's done to you for the last 5 years. It certainly kept you busy. Um, it's done on purpose. It's all bollocks." Then I can sit there and say, right, okay, ice walls. Let's check the ice walls out, or let's have a look at the JFK assassination, or whatever. And I can, because I'll always be into conspiracies, but I can
Mm.
put my effort somewhere else. What I wouldn't need to carry on doing is working out, well, finding in remote corners of bookshops in the middle of nowhere stuff like this.
Oh, nice.
This was a hard one to find, and it talks actually in this one. It talks. I've had this years. It talks about the
Nice.
Smithsonian's, and the Smithsonian's threw in the towel. The Smithsonian said that they cannot understand why. There's no documented evidence anywhere to explain why they were built in such detail. And in that way, there's nothing, they have nothing. And there's a statement from the Smithsonian Institution in that
Really
book. Yeah. Says
interesting.
they've got no answers.
Because Wikipedia has answers, and of course,
Yeah.
Wikipedia is
I
always
often
right.
get people fire Wikipedia at me. You know, it says on Wikipedia that was actually built in 1900 by Joe Bloggs and
Yeah,
Co,
I've had it.
the local builder.
I've had people copy paste stuff
Yeah,
from bloody Wikipedia and try and use it in a argument. And Wikipedia seems to be written in a certain way. Like as soon as I see it, I know that that's from Wikipedia, and I just
yeah.
like, oh, it's just go and post the page for them. Go there, nice comment. But
Must have taken you ages to type that.
yeah, geez, all that research you've done. Oh my God,
Mm,
Wikipedia. Yeah, I mean, but that just shows you how little people think to themselves. They don't want it, right? They just want to get the
mm,
experts view. The experts.
yeah,
He went to a Rockefeller-funded university. He's got to be right. So
yeah, yeah,
he the
exactly.
first degree, not the 33rd.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, well, that was it. I got said the other day. Someone said, "Oh," and I can't. That was on a podcast. I think that might have been Martin's. It was on. It was within the last week, one that I'd been on, and someone said, "Oh, he don't trust anything that guy bloke says. He's a high-ranking Freemason." I said, "Really? Am I? I thought I got to the third level. Yeah, but that's a
Maybe,
master." I said,
maybe
"Christ,
he
there's another
stuttered.
30 after that."
Maybe he stuttered. Maybe he went, I'm a 30. Like, oh, he's 33. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, even if you are a 32nd degree, it doesn't mean you know much. Because I mean, I
Mm.
look at it like it's like martial arts, right? Everyone thinks that you start martial arts on a white belt, but you don't. You start really training for that martial art when you hit your black belt. That's the first belt.
Mm.
All the other stuff's just, getting you whatever, right? A few basics, getting you limbered up, knowing how it all works. And the Freemasons, man, like they don't know anything until they hit the 33rd degree or above. And then they're suddenly told a whole different story.
Yeah.
This is who
Yeah.
you've really been worshipping. This is who we're really, but most Freemasons, never even hit anywhere near that. And they're nice people. They do chat
No.
work, their dads, they're down the pub. They just in it for the community, right? So
Yeah, I think where I went's a bit different because mine was very close to Scotland Yard, and a lot of people use it because it helped them get on in a career. And yeah, there was some
really,
people that did some good work. They did a lot of work for charities.
mm,
T Tends to be more children's charities than anything else, but it did do that. But I watched a lot of people personally benefit from it. But like I was saying to someone the other day, even at the 33rd degree, there's more beyond that. there are hidden degrees, and that's when everything changes.
That's where, yeah, the real stuff starts. That's where all the
Mm,
occultism and all the nastiness and weirdness, yeah, it
mm,
starts at 33. So yeah, yeah, I agree. Like, yeah, and that's a big one, like business, right? A lot of people use it just to get business contacts, and they all help each
yeah,
other. And that's
yeah,
kind of how they have become such a big successful thing.
yeah,
They're not running underneath them where everyone's helping each other and that, and then they're the masters, right? So
yeah.
that's how they take over the businesses, man. It's
I don't know if you're interested in this. It's sort of we've completely gone off, haven't we? But I,
completely.
I've got the somewhere in my book. It's just full of stuff. I don't know how I managed to keep any of this in my head. Like, oh, here we go. So right, so um, yeah, the so you've got shadow degrees. The Rite of Memphis branch of Freemasonry has got 99 degrees. There you go.
Um,
Um, the regular Freemasonry after the 33rd, which is invitation only, there are more degrees above that. Skull and Bones, they're all associated to it. The Illuminati have 33 degrees, then 13 unknown, total of 46. Incidentally, the 33rd degree, I can't remember what that's called, Sovereign Grand Inspector General. Sovereign Grand Inspector General, that's what it is. So 1 to 3, which is where I was, is craft, what they call craft. Then it's Scottish Rite after that. But they reckon once you get above that, that they then tell you once you're above 33 and above is when they tell you who's in charge, and they call them the unknown superiors or the superiors in Conus. Guide and control Freemasonry, the Martinist Order, and the Illuminati, and they're supposed to be a invisible hierarchy of enlightened beings, possibly extraterrestrial, that control Bilderberg Group, Trilateral Commission, Council of Foreign Relations, and the Vatican.
wow.
There you go.
Wonderful to
There
say,
you
oh,
go.
yeah,
Mm.
the Anunnaki or the
Mm-hmm.
fallen ones. Yeah, it's interesting. I've heard that Lemuria. I've heard that there was like that the whole Freemasonry thing started in Lemuria, but it was good back then. And I heard they
Mm.
had 360 degrees, so you had to complete the full circle.
Oh, right. Well, that would make more sense.
Yeah.
Well, that would take an awful long time because,
Depends how long they are, I know, right? You'd want to do more
yeah, or
than
how long you live.
you'd want to live for a long time, right?
Yeah, which, there is evidence that suggests that they did.
Mm, yeah.
That's what I was going to tell you about. Oh yeah, we were talking about rail and Clonaid.
Yeah.
Rail, we kind of went, didn't we, everywhere? And we haven't talked about the pyramid either. I don't know if you want to say anything about the latest discovery.
Yes, well, everyone probably knows about that by now.
Mm,
I mean,
knows
that's
what we've been saying for years.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, we know there's much more under the ground for sure. I mean, I guess the biggest question is it real? For one, or is it some kind of distraction maybe? But if it is real, then yeah, this is what we've been saying, and it would tend to lend to the story that it's some kind of energy, generator, some kind of machine.
Mm,
The fact that it's sitting on these big pillars, with stairwells apparently going up, I wonder is that could that be the energy source for an underground civilization, right?
yes.
Is that how they're getting their power to power themselves?
A lot of people have said that was a power that actually was built as a power station, power supply.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we all know it wasn't built as a tomb, you know,
No.
with all these 40-ton slabs of granite and these weird like little passageways, that you can't fit anyone in, pointing at stars
Mm.
and all this kind of stuff. Which, yeah, someone told me that you get energy from photons from stars. So,
Oh wow.
yeah, I just thought of it when I was thinking about the passageways that started.
Yeah.
They go straight to stars. There's two or three of them. It's interesting, and then it lines up with Orion's belt as well. Pretty
Mm.
cool. Yes, so that was just a random thought.
Yeah.
So I'm
That
not
was.
nah,
I was just going to hit you with one of Rail's
okay.
quotes. He said that Moses, and this is what the Elohim told him. Moses was sent here to establish moral law. Jesus to promote love and forgiveness. Buddha to spread enlightenment. Muhammad to bring social and spiritual unity, and Rael as the final messenger of the truth, revealing the truth about the Elohim, according to him anyway. That was he was sent here to tell us the truth that we were genetically created by the Elohim, and that's his message. That's his sole purpose in life.
To
There you
tell
go.
us.
So he was sent as a prophet to us, not to be a French racing car driver.
No, no, no. Just to be a cult leader.
That's the one. That's the one. Yeah,
Put himself
yeah.
as like the yeah, right, the last prophet. I mean, wow, maybe he'll suddenly rise in ranks and he'll be the anti-Christus. But
Well, they reckon that they're building. They plan to build some sort of embassy to welcome the Elohim back
they
when
do.
they return.
And it looks like um I don't know, what does it look like? It looks like something to do with cells or something. It's called headquarters. And of course they have created Eve, right? They say that they've already created clones.
Yeah, yeah. They do. Yeah, they do. Yeah, I can't remember the name of their CEO. Um, what
It's
was her name?
there it is there.
Got it somewhere. I've got loads of notes, but my stuff's all over the place because I write it as it comes to me, and then I have to put it in some sort of order.
Yeah,
What is
there's
her
their
name?
headquarters there.
Eve, £7, born by cesarean section, a clone of a 31-year-old American woman who donated the DNA for cloning purposes. It was confirmed the baby was an exact duplicate of the biological mother, and they stated at the time they were expecting 4 more babies to be born over the next several weeks. 1 from America, 1 from Europe, and 2 from Asia.
Wow, so there must be lots of them by now. We don't hear much of
Mm.
it either.
2 of these couples were using preserved cells from their deceased child. And 1 was a lesbian couple. Oh, her name's Boiselia. Um, I don't know what her first name is. The CEO, the woman running the show.
Oh, there you
Um,
go. Rail used to have hair. He looks like a clown.
yeah, that's kind of how I would look if I stopped cutting my hair
You
or
clean
stopped
your hair enough.
picking it anyway. I can't
Oh,
remember her name. Who is the woman that's running it now? Um, Bridget Boissier, a Raelian bishop and scientist.
Raelian Bishop. Oh,
Raelian bishop and scientist. Yeah, they use basically somatic cell nuclear transfer, the same as Dolly the sheep.
yeah. I mean, the
Yeah,
funny thing is, though, is they could be pretty close to what actually happened down here, right?
yeah, very, very much so. Yeah,
Like
I tried to go on their website and it wouldn't let me through my server,
oh,
so I had to go onto Clonaid's website on my mobile phone through 4G.
oh, really?
Yeah, it wouldn't let me access it. Would not let me. And on their website, it says that they'll offer help to the following people: 1, if you're sterile and have lost hope of having a child; 2, if you're homosexual and deeply desire a child that would carry your own genes; 3, if you've lost or are about to lose a beloved member of your family and would like to see an identical twin of them begin a new life; then
Yeah.
if you've got HIV. And then finally, if you would simply like to be cloned for whatever reason that may be.
Basically anyone.
Yeah, that's their homepage. But then you
Monkey.
fill in a contact form. You have a representative contact you. Then the medical team evaluates your case and then arranges to obtain stem cells from the donor.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I wonder how many clones are running around at the moment.
Mm.
Like, 'cause they've been doing it because the first one, when was it? It was around 2000 or something. It's quite a while ago, 20 years or something.
Yeah, it was. When was it?
And once they've got it right,
1997. Founded in 1997. Um, Yeah, and there was a program on 60 Minutes Australia. It's
Yes,
produced by Gareth Harvey.
yes.
That was where it was first released, but they got an awful lot of pressure from journalists to shut down. They were Valiant Industries or something before that, and they had to change and they had to shut down and start again. Um,
There were Valiant Industries. That's an interesting
yeah,
because
um,
it was that other apparent like alien, wasn't it? Valiant Thor.
yeah, yeah. Good spot. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. China, they reckon a lot goes on there. China and South Korea, there is no ban. Most countries in the world have a ban on human cloning, but
Oh,
China and South Korea don't. No ban.
you set up and clone there. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. They just discourage it,
They just
allegedly. Yeah. India and Mexico don't have any specific laws about it, leaving it wide open to interpretation. And Mexico is a known destination for a lot of unregulated reproductive technology. I found a company called Clonaid Mexico, but they're primarily focused on pets and livestock. But again, it's kind of quite loose. You could crack on there to your heart's content. But the headquarters for all the Raelian movements in Quebec, which also happens to be where Clonaid's based.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Oh, because he's French, so it's French speaking, isn't it? Quebec. Yeah,
Mm.
interesting. Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's an anarchy story, man.
It is all over again. Yeah,
it's whole cloning thing, right? So
yeah. And it sort of links into Project Lazarus as well, which is,
it's fun.
being able to transfer our consciousness.
Yeah, yeah, yes.
Now that Clonaid reckon they can do that they can transfer your consciousness into another body.
It's been in a lot of movies.
Mm.
I think there's been three or four movies, probably more, right? Where like the mother and daughter or the son and father change.
Yeah,
Like we see it as they change bodies, but it's their minds changing, clearly,
it's their
right?
minds.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So there's heaps of those type things, and I'm watching a series called Travelers, and they're time travelers.
yeah.
And they do the same thing. They find people, and like just before the person dies, because they know when they're going to die, then they transfer someone else's consciousness into the body.
Mm.
And they just take it over.
Yeah. No, is that what happens?
Who knows, man? Or is it, is Don a Terminator, and that's why he's so linked to time travel?
It could be. Or is Baron Trump his son? Is Baron the time traveler? Is
Yeah,
he the one? Because he doesn't look like the kid that I saw with a Russian accent when he was young. That looks like and even he's like even at school they said that his intelligence is on another level. He's
yeah,
genetically superior
apparently.
to other people.
And
So
I
I
mean,
wonder if he's a giant.
yeah, well, he looks. I mean, I know obviously, he's president's son. He's grown up, in that kind of environment and family.
Hmm,
He's like what, 17 or 18, and he holds himself like he's 30 or 40,
does.
doesn't he? He
Yeah,
doesn't look like a kid.
yeah,
He's got the baby face, but the way he just acts and sort of holds himself, and
yeah,
he doesn't look like he's definitely not an average 18-year-old.
yeah.
So, I mean, it's such a deep rabbit hole, that one.
Mm.
But yeah. Well, man, we've been going for an hour and 40 minutes. Would you believe it?
Bloody hell. Where did that go?
Exactly right.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
do this
well,
quite a bit,
yeah,
don't
we
we?
started at 7, didn't we? Yeah, yeah, an hour and 40. Wow, man. That's
Mm.
crazy. There you go. I guess it was a good talk. Well, we kind of hit a few points. We talked about
Mm.
your regression. We talked about the Raelians. That's what we promised. Lots of other weird ramblings. So, yeah, man, I guess we'll keep it. We'll stop it there. So, links below, guys. Go buy Guy's book. Get on the Get Your Shit Together hour. We've got like events coming up. It's all down below. Go click on them. I've even got some merch, some shirts and stuff. Go buy one. And yes, leave us a like and a comment. Yeah, comment on all the stuff we spoke about, which I can't actually remember because there was lots of it.
No, we went
But
everywhere.
let us know in the comments what you're thinking. And yeah, man, thanks for another chat. Having another chat. That was fun. Went very quickly.
Did, yeah, yeah. Well, thanks for having me back on. I enjoy this, our ramblings. It's like
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
two blokes sat in a bar, isn't it? Having a couple of beers and just
yeah. It's just talking, right? Like we don't normally
Mm.
get to do, right? You can't really
It's
go
not
and pick up
structured.
this stuff
Yeah,
and go down the pub. You go, mate,
yeah,
pick out the Raelians and cloning
yeah, yeah, exactly.
to it, would they? No, but yeah, man, it's been good. I enjoyed too. So yeah, no doubt we'll do another one in the future sometime.
Yeah.
Find another topic. So let us know. Did we talk about anything in particular? Leave us a comment.
Yeah, that would be interesting to know what people want us to talk about.
And we can start with that. And within 5 minutes, we'll be way over.
Yeah, yeah, we can start talking about the JFK assassination instead.
By the end of it, we'll get back to it in an hour and a half, and
Yeah.
big roundabouts. But yeah, man. All right. Well, have a good day. Good talking to you.
Yeah, and you. Thanks for having me back.
Thank you. Thanks for everyone watching. Links below. Give us likes, all that kind of stuff. We'll talk to you on the next upload. Bye for now.
Bye.
Remember, in the end, nobody wins unless everybody wins. Come on!